Hello everybody, and welcome to our lesson today. I'm really happy you're here. Today we're starting a whole new story, and it has to do with a farmer and some seeds. And so I thought maybe today when you were having your snack that a good thing to talk about would be if you could plant anything in your yard or your garden and it would grow, what plant would you choose? Would it be something pretty for you to look at? Would it be something you want to eat off of because of what grows on it, or pretty flowers that grow on it? Talk about that with your family and decide, if I could plant something in my yard, what would it be if I could plant any plant I wanted to? See you in a minute. Welcome back, you guys. So our story today is in Matthew chapter 13. We're going to get to that in a few minutes. But first, I just wanted to talk to you about maybe something you've learned at school, depends on how old you are, about different kinds of stories. Because there are true stories and there are make-believe stories. And we like to remember that the Bible is true stories. But in today's story, it's a true story about Jesus, but Jesus makes up a story to tell us. Okay? Have you ever made up a story to tell someone, just to help them understand something, or just for fun? Maybe you made up a scary story when you were camping out in a tent or around a campfire. So before we even begin today, I would like for you to tell your family about a story that you made up, or make one up right now. It can be a story about anything you like, all right? And then come back and we're going to hear a little bit more about this story that Jesus told to people. All right? I hope you made up some good stories to tell your family. I hope they were funny or scary or just crazy. But our story that today that we're going to find out that Jesus told is called a parable. Can you say that? Parable. 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 And a parable is a type of story. You maybe have heard about myths and legends and fairy tales and fables and folk tales. There's all kinds of stories that we kind of put in groups, stories that are made up. And the story that Jesus is going to tell in the story today is one that he made up. It's not a true story that actually happened. It's a story that he made up to teach us something that he wanted us to learn. Okay? So, let's think about this for a minute. Jesus could make up stories. He could tell stories that were not true to help us learn a lesson. I bet your teachers at school do that sometimes. I bet they can make up a story to help you understand maybe how somebody else felt, or understand how you should act, or just to understand history, or any of that kind of thing. I bet that there have been people, your parents, your teachers, who have made up stories to teach you a lesson. So before we get to our story, I'm going to give you a little quiz, okay? Because in this story, there's some different things that Jesus added in his story, and before we read it, I want you to make some guesses, okay? Are you good at guessing? I hope so, because I'm going to make you do some guessing, all right? The first thing you're going to guess is this. There's a farmer in the story. Now, there are really farmers in the world, aren't there? That's not a made-up thing. There's really farmers. And so I want you to think about what farmers do. They grow things, they take care of animals, they drive tractors and wagons and all sorts of things. Talk with your family about what farmers do, okay? What do you know about farmers? And then think of what can you come up with that Jesus might use a farmer to teach you something special that he wants you to know. What could he teach you using a farmer in his story? Talk about that and come back. I've got more questions and guesses and quizzes for you. Oh, how I wish I was with you all and I could hear what you were saying. I wonder what you thought of lessons that you could learn from a farmer, from Jesus. So the next thing in the story are seeds. Hi, corn dog. Seeds. Do you think that Jesus could make up a story where the seeds help teach you a lesson? Well, he did. He made up the story we're going to hear today. So what lesson do you think Jesus could teach you using seeds? What do you think, corn dog? What do you think? You guys talk about it and come back. Okay, so that was guess number 2. So we've guessed about the farmer and we've guessed about seeds. And now the third and the final guessing game for you is dirt. Dirt. You all know what dirt is, right? You can call it dirt, soil, sand, clay sometimes is dirt. But there's dirt in our story. And so I'm just wondering, what lesson could Jesus teach you using dirt in his story? What lesson can you learn from dirt? Okay, enough with the guessing games. It's time to actually read the story. So today our story is in Matthew chapter 13. Woo! And it's verses 1 through 9. You can see the red letters are the words that Jesus actually says. Okay? Here's how it goes. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. I don't know what same day it was, but I could go back to chapter 12 and find out, I bet, couldn't I? Such large crowds gathered around him that he had to get in a boat and sit in it and teach from the boat. And all the people lined the shore so they could hear him and learn from him. And then he told them many things in parables. And this is the first one. He said, a farmer went out to sow his seed. Sow his seed means to plant it. Sow means plant. So he went out to plant his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some of it fell along the path where the birds came and ate it up quickly. Some fell on rocky places where it didn't have hardly any soil. It grew up really quick because the soil was there to get it started. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they didn't have deep roots. Some of his other seed fell in the thorn patch. And it grew up, and the thorns grew up, and they choked the plant out. Still, others of his seed fell on good soil, where it made a crop, 160 or 30, wait, let me say that again, where it produced a crop which was either 160 or 30 times what he had put down. So where one seed went down, what grew up was either 100 seeds, 60 seeds, or 30 seeds on the plant. Does that make sense? And then Jesus said, he who has ears, let him hear. That's the end. That's the end of the parable that Jesus told about the soil. and the seed and the farmer. So, of course, I have one more guessing game for you, all right? And that guess is, usually when you're being taught something, you want to like see something in the story that you're supposed to be like, right? So do you think in this story you're supposed to be like the farmer? Are you supposed to learn a lesson from what the farmer did? Are you supposed to learn a lesson from what the seed did? Or are you supposed to learn a lesson from what the dirt did, or no dirt in some cases? All right, so talk to your family about that. Which of those things do you think Jesus is trying to teach you a lesson through? The farmer, the seeds, or the dirt? All right, you guys, so you made your guesses as to what the lessons are that Jesus might be trying to teach you in that story. And I honestly am not going to tell you the answer to that today. We are going to be studying this story for 3 more weeks. And by the end of 3 more weeks, you might find out that your guess was right, that was the lesson Jesus wanted. You might find out that your guess was wrong, that wasn't what Jesus was hoping to teach you. Or you might find out that everybody in your family was right and there's more than one lesson in this story. But for today, to end up our lesson, I thought it would be kind of cool to kind of like check this story out. So I got some green bean seeds because I love green beans. Who else loves green beans? Yeah. And the first part of the story, when the farmer put his seeds, the first ones landed on the path where the birds ate the seeds. So we're gonna go find a path in my backyard now. All right, you guys, so this is kind of a path that leads from my house and my patio. It's where I walk. See how it gets kind of narrow right there to get to my honey house, where all my honeybee stuff is. So you see how there's not a lot of grass there. So I'm going to throw a couple seeds down there. What do you think? 3? Did you see those? There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And I'm just gonna come back next week and we'll see if they're still here, or if something did come and eat them, or if they're starting to grow. Who knows? We'll find out next week. All right, so the next part was a rocky place. So I have pavers, but that's not really rocks, but these, look at all those rocks. You could throw rocks into the pond forever with all these rocks. So you can see I have 3 seeds. I'm going to throw them out there. 1, 2, 3. And they kind of bounced around, but they're there. There's 1. The other one's over here somewhere. I don't know if I'll find it. I hope those do grow. We'll see. If not, I may never find them in the middle of all these rocks. Okay, so I don't really have a thorny patch full of weeds, but back here I have these ferns, and they just grow up so thick, and I pull them all the time and they just grow right back up. So I'm going to take these 3 seeds and I'm going to just throw them in with the weeds or the thorns. Do you think these ferns will give those beans a chance to grow up? Or will it be like the story where they choke them out? I guess we'll find out in a little bit. Okay, here is one of my gardens. And right now there's not a lot in it because it's been winter time. But it's getting warmer now. And so I turned up some soil over here. Does that look like good soil to you? The story said good soil, so I'm going to throw 1, 2, and my 3 little bean seeds in there, and we'll see. We'll come back next week and we will check on all those seeds and find out if any of them are growing or doing anything, and we'll figure out what we can learn from this story. Okay, I'm back over on the deck now, and it's time for us to have a prayer and thank God for this story and for each other. Oh, did you hear that cool bird? I don't know what it is, but it sounds like one of those big woodpeckers. All right, let's bow our heads and we'll fold our hands, bow our heads, and let's have a prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this beginning of this new story about a farmer and seeds and soil. And we know that it's a parable. It's a story that you made up. And you made it up to teach us something. So if you took the time to make up a story so that we could learn something from it, I think that we should probably take the time to figure it out. So we are going to do that over the next couple weeks. We're excited about what we might learn and how we might learn from the farmer, or we might learn from the seeds or the dirt. We're not sure yet, but we're excited about the learning that we're going to have take place in our families. We love you and we thank you for Jesus. It's in his name that we all pray. Amen. Okay, that is our lesson for today on Matthew 13. You guys can look in your Bibles and read it together this week and talk about it and think about it. And oh my goodness, if you wanted to, you could even go get some seeds of your own and plant them in the different spots in your yard like I did and see what happens to them. I bet if you have chickens, they would eat them. What do you think, Connor and Riley and BB? Would your chickens eat them? Possibly. All right, I gotta go now. You guys have a great week. Thanks for listening. I miss you all and I love you all so very much. And I will see you soon. Mwah. Bye-bye.